Unless you are not paying attention or willingly ignorant at this point, as I mentioned in the last segment, you have to believe that Donald Trump has either explicitly or implicitly made it known that he will offer pardons to people who remain loyal to him in the Trump-Russia investigation. And I want to go through with you what we know at this point, okay? Number one, there are what are called joint defense agreements, mostly informal, although possibly formal in some cases, where Donald Trump's personal legal team is working with the legal teams of Paul Manafort and Jerome Corsi and others, meaning that Donald Trump's legal team knows exactly what Robert Mueller is doing, what Robert Mueller is asking, where Robert Mueller is probing. That's number one. Number two, Donald Trump's indicted campaign manager, Paul Manafort, made an agreement with Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller where he would receive a reduced sentence, reduced punishment, fewer charges. There was a deal made, whatever. But in exchange for that, Paul Manafort had to tell them the truth and help them fry bigger fish, so to speak. And we learned this week that Paul Manafort still lied. Okay, Manafort made a deal to cooperate and then broke that deal by lying. Why would anyone do that unless they were, number one, scared to death of telling the truth, or number two, they knew or suspected or surmised that they should keep their mouth shut and that a pardon would eventually get them out of trouble? That's Paul Manafort. Then, number three, we get to this horrible character, a hero of the birther movement. His name's Jerome Corsi. And last night, Ari Melber had a really interesting interview with Jerome Corsi on MSNBC. And I encourage you to watch the entire interview. It's about 20 minutes. Corsi spent those 20 minutes talking about how he's simply telling the truth. He's heroically rejecting a plea deal with Robert Mueller because it would have required him to say things that aren't true. He debated the definition of a lie with Ari Melber. And then the topic of pardons come up, not because Ari Melber asks him about it, but because Jerome Corsi brings it up unprovoked. And it gets really awkward, but it is very, very illuminating for what we're talking about today.
You know, and I'm not counting on Donald Trump for anything, including a pardon. That's not the basis on which I made my decision. I don't.
Why are you bringing up a pardon in a television interview?
Everybody, you were talking about it before. Everybody.
But I didn't ask you about the pardon. Well, you're bringing up a pardon.
I'm bringing it up because I want to make it clear that I don't expect one. I'm not asking for one, and I'm making my decision completely on the basis that I know I'll have to face trial if they do indict me.
I understand.
And the consequences are I may go to prison
I understand
the rest
you
of my
face,
life.
sir. I understand you face serious consequences.
I understand that, and I understand that.
Would you accept a pardon?
No. Well, accept a pardon is hypothetical.
The whole conversation. You brought up a hypothetical pardon conversation.
I'm going to give you a hypothetical answer. Let's let it be offered, and I'll tell you what I'll do at that time.
So people listening may draw the inference that you actually are right now auditioning for a pardon when you end that statement by saying, let it be offered.
I would say I took that mind reading. You're asking me now to tell you what people who are listening think. I don't know what they're thinking.
But you're not asking for a pardon, is what you maintain.
I'm not asking for a pardon.
Understood.
And I'm not anticipating a pardon.
Do you understand why people don't believe you?
Yes, of course. I've had this problem all my life.
Fascinating interview. I encourage you to watch the entire thing, which I did last night. But like Ari Melber, I also don't believe that pardons haven't at least been intimated during the last several months. Then, after all of this, we learned that Roger Stone, a third close Trump operative who's very wrapped up in all of this and is possibly getting indicted himself, Roger Stone spoke to Trump on the phone the day after he received information that WikiLeaks email dumps were coming. Someone who was also, in Roger Stone's case, in touch with Jerome Corsi, someone who learned from Jerome Corsi's allegedly rejected plea agreement that he is a central part of this entire investigation, further implicating Trump in, at minimum, knowing about what was going on with the WikiLeaks email dumps, coinciding, again, with Donald Trump's public statements and tweets about documents expected to be released by WikiLeaks in advance. So these guys, Pat, are all in touch. They all know what's going on. They're all communicating with Trump about their defenses. And this is yet another possible constitutional crisis, which we'll get to in a second. Do you believe that these guys have no idea whether Trump will pardon them, or do you think they suspect?
They certainly are auditioning for pardons, I think. And that's probably the best path forward for all of them. But it is incredibly risky, I think. Like if Paul Manafort accepts a plea deal from the Mueller probe and he eventually turns on it, and then you find out that Trump can't pardon him for one reason or another because it's challenged in court or because he's no longer president, well, then Paul Manafort's going to end up getting the maximum sentence and probably go to prison for the rest of his life.
Well, there's another possible constitutional crisis here, and it's not just the preemptive pardon that is a possibility with presidents of the United States. You hear time and again this phrase, Pat, that the pardon power of the president is absolute, meaning it doesn't matter whether the pardon was issued because Trump felt someone was unfairly prosecuted or because they agreed not to spill the beans on Trump, that it just doesn't matter because the president's pardon power is absolute. That's not exactly true. I mean, imagine a situation where someone shows up at the Oval Office with a bag of money and says, here's a bag of money in exchange for a pardon. According to legal experts, that would be over the line. It would change the idea of an absolute pardon power. So there is that line, and it's going to be up to courts, as you're suggesting, to figure out sort of where that line is and whether it's been crossed. And ultimately, you know, the downside is that Trump's Supreme Court of extremists and serial accused sexual assaulters is going to adjudicate that, which isn't great. But if you're thinking about this, a great question is whether legally foreknowledge or intimation of future pardons is illegal. And it might be, because any suggestion that a pardon might be in someone's future if they lie or if they withhold information from federal investigators, that, which would be a hallmark of Trump's behavior in Trump Russia, is an obstructive action. It is a form of obstruction of justice. It's arguably also witness tampering, right? Because the possibility of a pardon is being used to influence the testimony that somebody gives. That, by definition, is witness tampering. So it's another day. It's another 2 to 3 scandals. What do you think? Do future pardons explain this bizarre behavior of Paul Manafort and Jerome Corsi and increasingly Roger Stone? Let me know. I'm on Twitter at @dpakman. The show is on Twitter at David Pakman Show. One of today's sponsors is privacy.com/Pakman. This is a free service that I've actually been using myself for a while now, and I love it. You just take a few seconds to link your debit card or bank account to privacy.com's mobile app or browser extension for Firefox and Chrome. And what that does is allow you to instantly create virtual credit cards that are linked to your bank account so that you're not actually putting your real debit card number on the internet. And you use these virtual credit card numbers to buy things online. And with one click of a button, you have the ability to create multiple virtual cards, delete cards, freeze and unfreeze cards. You can put a limit on a card so a company won't be able to charge you more than you actually want them to. And it protects you from being hacked. It protects you from companies being hacked, which we've been talking about for a while on the program. And it's perfect for signing up for free trials somewhere if you don't want your real credit card number to be exposed and on file. And their app and browser extension let you autofill the virtual credit card number into the credit card field when you're buying things online. There are a ton of different advantages to shopping and paying bills with a system like this. Everything is totally secure and encrypted. And in some situations, you can earn 5% cash back on your purchases. It's all completely free. All you have to do is click the link under this video to get started. And for a limited time, everybody in our audience who signs up gets $5 towards your first purchase when you sign up using that link below.